Welcome back to the studio where it is unseasonably hot and humid in here today. I have the dehumidifier running in the background, hoping that it will take out some of the moisture from the studio. We are going to be doing something a little bit different today, and I'm going to be showing you a new piece of equipment that we just got for the studio. There's a very specific purpose for it, so it's a very large piece of equipment in my estimation for the job that we will be doing, but it will be very useful for videos in the future. So I'm going to do a little unboxing and get it up on the table, and I'm going to save my boxes because these boxes themselves are expensive. But let me do a quick turnaround. We'll get some of this stuff out of the box and we'll show you what we have. Well, this is it. This is our new Bernina 770 Quilters edition, and you see it has the embroidery module, and this really is the primary function for us adding a new piece of equipment to the studio. Urban Elements has added a new line of quilting designs that were made for the embroidery module. We've had people asking for these for many years, and it's taken us a while to get another line of products in development, along with maintaining everything else that we're doing. So also, you may or may not know, because of supply chain issues, it takes a while to get anything in. We ordered this back in January when we started releasing the free embroidery designs on the website, and there still is a collection of free designs for download that are both for long arm and for the embroidery module. But there also is a huge collection of paid designs as well. So as I just got the machine in, I'm going to be doing a little bit of training myself, but I just wanted to show you what all we have with the collection. I have a complete manual here, as well as another manual, it's still in the box, for doing the embroidery. Now, most of the stuff in here I won't even be removing, like the small hoops. This hoop is way too small for anything that we'll be doing with the embroidery designs, the quilting designs. We also have some needles and thread. I probably won't be using that. I may be using this cable. I'm not sure of its function. If that's, it must be for download. I don't think it's for communication between the module. And we have the manual here as well. There's also a collection of stuff in the original box that I won't necessarily need right away, like the foot case. This always reminds everybody of the Barbie doll set for her wardrobe. But I won't be doing a lot of different feet on the machine, since primarily I'm going to be using it as an embroidery module for doing the quilting designs. So I won't be changing out feet a lot for that. But I will go ahead at some point and put the feet out of the box into the set. The embroidery module snaps in place pretty easily. I don't have the machine powered up, but what you do, you just take the machine at a 30-degree angle and it just snaps in place. So that's all it takes to use the embroidery module onto the machine. What I might be doing today, though, is adding a little bit of personal style to the machine by adding some tattoos from Urban Elements. I will go ahead and take the manual inside where it's a little bit cooler. You can see I'm sweating today in the studio, glistening, and start reviewing that. I've also been watching some YouTube videos myself of how to use the new 770. So it will take me a couple weeks to get up and running before I actually offer a video on using embroidery module for quilting designs, but we will start doing those types of videos as part of the repertoire that we're already doing for education. I can't think of anything else that I wanted to say, but I am going to pull my tattoos out. Patricia and I were talking about the new addition to the studio, and they sent a collection of tattoos that both of us liked to be add to the machine. It just is a personalization. But also, if you think about it, if you take a machine to be serviced, or if you're going to a dealership to have classes, it's very easy for things to get mixed up, like maybe your toolbox or your foot pedal, your embroidery module, the machine. So many people have these pieces from the same dealership, so the tattoos are a really nice way to personalize your pieces, makes them easy to see which ones are yours, but also it adds a bright touch to the studio, and that's why I like using them. They are not replaceable the way a post-it note is, so once you put it in place, it's not going to be able to be removed and repositioned. So you want to make sure you have them where you want them when you put them on. They will come off without leaving any residue, so you don't have an issue with that. And they are permanent as long as you don't peel it back off, but they are removable. So I'm going to pull out some of the tattoos and show you what we had chosen or what we were looking at, and then I'm going to look at some placement and see which ones I want to look at and where we're going to put them on the machine. I took a cooling break and went inside the house for a while because it's so hot. The humidity is killing everything. One of the things that is good to know about the tattoos or decorative decals is that they are either printed on clear or they're printed on white. And if you have a machine that is white, like the Bernina is, the Bernina domestic machine, then it doesn't really matter which one of those two you choose, because the clear will just show the white through and the white will just mimic the white of the machine. But if you have any machine or item that you're going to put it on that have a dark color, like my black toolbox, the black Bernina Q24, those have to be printed on white. And that way the decal pops against the color, the dark black or the gray or whatever color your machine or computer is that you're putting it on. The printed on clear don't show the color of the decal when it's on a dark item. So that's one thing that you need to pay attention to when you're ordering, whether it's printed on white or printed on clear. And every single tattoo design that we have comes in both formats. This particular one is printed on clear, this one's printed on white. And they're going to look the same in the package. They're going to look the same in the front of the package. You're not going to tell the difference until you pull it out and try and put it on your machine, and you'll see that it won't show up if it is a darker color machine. So some of the ones that we had, we were thinking about were sunset red, and we chose a lot of the colors based on the red label of the Bernina, the insignia. And then we have indigo, which is really cute, has a lot of different colors, and that might pull in some of the other colors that we've used on some of the other machines. And then we have Bubbles 1 and Cherry Blossom. So I'm going to take some of these out and cut some of the pieces up into sections, because you can see what is on the package cover. You'll get all of those things in the sheet. You get one sheet per package. And what I like to do is take the scissors and cut these pieces out and separate them, and then you can kind of audition them. You could just put them in place with a little piece of tape. Another thing that you could do, if you were really OCD maybe, would be to put this on a scanner, a Xerox machine, a printer, and print a copy of this page, and then you could cut out that paper and position them, audition them in different places without actually cutting up your original. That's just an extra step that you could take when using the decals to make sure you get them exactly where you want them in the positioning. Because as I said before, they are permanent in that they will stay where you put them until you peel them off. but they are removable without any residue, but they are not repositionable. So if you stick it onto the machine and then peel it off, you're not going to be able to use it again. It's a single use in that way. So I have some on my machines that have been on my machine for as long as we've been making them. They don't peel off on their own. And so there's no issue with that. You do want to make sure that the surface is clean and dry, free of dust, and especially free of oil. If your machine has an oily spot on it and you put one of these on there, it's not going to stick. The oil is going to prevent it from sticking. So if you have to, take a little bit of dishwashing soap and a soft towel and clean it off, or you could test your machine and see if you could use like a little alcohol on a swab and clean it off in that way. But you know, pay attention to where you're doing that at. So that is how you would put them on. I'm going to go ahead and try and make a quick decision about which one of these I'm leaning towards. I don't think it's going to be this one. That one doesn't make my heart sing. But that is a good way for you to see that it comes in clear and comes in white. I'm really kind of drawn to the cherry blossom, believe it or not. And originally when I talked to Patricia, I was thinking about the dots. But I'm going to pull them all out and look at them against the machine and see which one I like. I was just putting aside these two packages because I know I'm not going to use it, and that's when I noticed on here there's a little bubble, and this bubble says perfect for dark color surface. So that is the one that's printed on white, perfect for dark color surface. I did want to just reiterate that because it's so critical. At one point I got some decal samples and I was putting them on my black toolbox, and I put it printed on clear on the black toolbox, and the design completely disappeared. It just has to be printed on white for the decal to show up, and I don't want anyone to be disappointed by that. I've taken several of these out. It's kind of hard to see the vibrancy of these because it is in reverse. You have to peel the paper backing off and put it in place, and then peel the paper off, and then you see how vibrant it is. So I have the dots. The plus side on the dots is there's a lot of components, so I can put them in lots of places. The plus on this one, on indigo, is that there's lots of colors, so it could pull in a lot of different colors in the room. But I'm really drawn to this one. I really like the cherry blossom, and so that's the one I think I'm going to use. And what I like to do is just cut out, making sure not to cut any of the pieces. Cut out in between the shapes, and then I can audition these in the way that I want them to go, because this hard cardboard piece in the back is going to get cut off or peel off. You put it in place and then you rub it and then peel the top off, and that's when you see the color. I like to be able to position this in different ways and see how I like it best for its placement. And there's one thing that also that you could note. Sometimes the machine is curved or has corners and you think, oh, that won't fit. But the decal will actually mold around the shape of the machine. So in this case, if I wanted to, I could have the berry and the little seed pods mold around the curve of the Bernina. But I kind of like it this way. Well, only the seed pods would need to turn around. I'm just going to go ahead and keep cutting these pieces out, and I might use these two little dots and these little swirls. I've got a couple of those to use those on my foot pedal, so I know that this foot pedal goes with this machine. So as you can see, I'm sweating and sweating and sweating. Oh. I'm not usually a really vain person, but it's stifling hot in here today, so I apologize for that. This is a pretty easy process, all in all. I'm going to put one of these little green swirls that matches the leaf pattern of the flower on my foot pedal here. That will just help me indicate that this foot pedal goes with this machine, because I do have, over the years I've had more than one Bernina machine, so I have multiple foot pedals. And as far as foot pedal go, I don't know that it makes any difference, but at least I'll know. So I peeled the little stiff cardstock backing off of the little swirl piece. I'm just going to scrape it a little bit to make sure it's in good contact with the foot pedal. And this, it could be anything really. I use this to clean my pots and pans. It's just a little scraper for like a cast iron pot. So I have that in place, and then you're just going to peel the paper backing top off, and there you can see the decal is in place. Now this will stay in place as long as I don't physically peel it off. If I peel it off, it won't leave any residue, but the decal itself will not be usable again. So I have that to show you. The next piece I'm going to put on is this one, and I think this is the format that I'm going to use. So again, I'm going to peel the card stock off of the back, and I'm going to put this into position. And you can see the little seed pods here extend beyond the scope of my flat surface. So I'm just going to go ahead and push it right around the corner. And you're going to see that that's going to work perfectly fine. I have put this on, made sure there's no air bubbles. And I'm just going to scrape it a little bit. I'm not trying to scrape the life out of it. I'm just making sure there's no air bubbles and that we're getting good contact with the machine. And I want to make sure that we got a good crease here on that curve. And then I can go ahead and peel this top off. And that is all there is to the process of using these decals to personalize your machine. Of course, I can also go ahead and take off this plastic film that was used just to transport the machine. And I'm going to go ahead and put a few more decals on, and then I will wrap this up, maybe with a little story. Well, I have all the decals that I have chosen in place on the machine, on the foot pedal, on the embroidery module, and on my storage case. I have two pieces here on the storage case, and if you notice, this has like a smoky clear door. This is another instance where the printed on white really shows up well. So all of the pieces of the machine that go together have an identifier on them of the same pattern. So I have two pieces on the storage box. I have the piece on the embroidery module, two pieces here, a piece on the end, and I will stress at this point, the machine has a molded front and a molded back, the cover. And those come apart for servicing, so I intentionally avoided that seam when placing my decals. In case the mechanic needed to take the cover off, I wouldn't want him to have to destroy the decal or have it hinder his progress. So everything is in a place where it's not going to cause any obstruction or any problem in the future. I was just going to tell you a little bit of my Bernina story. I have said in the past that I started sewing around 1991, and my first machine, I wasn't sure how much I was going to get into sewing or quilting at the time, and so I bought a new machine at Sears. It was a Singer sewing machine, and I paid around $500 or $600 for it. And I was taking beginning quilting at the time. and I kept having problems. I was constantly rethreading the machine. The tension was really bad, and I'm not dogging the machine, it just was not what I needed. And that was right about the time Hurricane Andrew hit, and the house was destroyed, and I got insurance money. And so instead of replacing everything that I had lost, I worked on replacing just the machine as my focus. And that's when I bought my first Bernina. It was a 1008, I believe, or a 1090. It was a mechanical machine, and the machine sewed from the first minute I threaded the machine. It no
what
longer.
What should I search for?
That's the phone picking up my voice.
Which of these?
Stop. Technical issues all week this week. Once I got the Bernina, it sewed beautifully, and I've been a Bernina person ever since. I had taken beginning quilting at a quilt shop, and after a year or so, I started teaching at the same quilt shop because I fell in love with quilting so much, and I've been a Bernina person ever since. So I've had several Bernina sewing machines with the embroidery module. I've had a Bernina serger. I had embroidery software. I then graduated to the long arm machine, and now we have the new edition of the 770. So that's my Bernina story. That's kind of why I have a brand loyalty to that particular brand, but I know we all have our own. So I would be interested to know if you have a brand story or a sewing machine story. What kind of sewing machine are you using now? What kind of sewing machine did you start using? What is your favorite brand of machine? I'd just be curious if you would write in the comments something about your machine, whether you love it or hate it. We all have a love-hate relationship with ours. So I would just be interested to hear yours. It's great for us in some way to get to know each other. I feel like in a way our studios are just interconnected one after the other, and we walk through one person's virtual studio to get to the next, and we share information that way. So please take a minute and let me know your machine story, and maybe other people who are reading the comments can learn or connect with your story as well. But that is my story for today. I'm introducing the new machine for the studio, and in the future we will be using it for embroidery formatted quilting designs. So we had our unveiling of the machine today. I added in my decal panels for the machine because these really make me happy. As hot as it is today, and you have to see how hot I am, having this cheers me up. It is a small thing, but it makes me happy to come into the studio and see that little bit of personalization. So thanks for stopping by the studio today, and we'll see you again soon on the embroidery module, but if not, on some other project here in the studio.